And here you have Salman Khan, who's been there, done this drunken driving, hit and run, 15 years, nothing has happened. So I filed an intervention application and I said, this case needs to be heard because one person died, there were people who were injured. That the other day I was at a wedding and Salman Khan's security guard was there, Shera. And he says, Madam, aapko dekh ke to hum court mein dar jate the. As a government servant, you are tight-lipped. You can't speak against the government. You can't speak what is right, what is wrong. And the activist in me, the person who lived for justice, kept telling me, move out, come out. He registered a P against the great Dhirubhai Ambani. Preliminary inquiry that he said no Panna Mukta. He did that Panna Mukta, US 64, all the big cases he was investigating. And the government felt that if this guy stays for long in the CBI, the corporates are going to have a tough time. He was sitting in Tanna House. They relieved him overnight, put a lock in his office, did not even let him take his papers. Offer for Raw. People say the cabinet secretariat. Today, if I had joined that, I would have been director Raw. I didn't go because I got scared. My husband says, oh my God, you're going to become a detective, you're going abroad to snoop for the country. I will leave you. There would be drawers would be open and money would be kept like that openly. People would carry bundles of cash in newspaper every day in the evening. And I was so worried. I said, my God, I come from a very honest background. My mentality is honesty. I can't survive in this. I left customs because of that. But that is the kind of money which is there. You think people are coming for the government salary? No. They are coming for the glamour, the perks, the money. ये जो ऊपर की कमाई है ना, that is what is luring these people. That book openly said that the Deputy CM is charging 35 lakhs for a posting of a DCP. He had the courage to write that. And this is in the 90s, that was the rate. So what now? They must be, if an officer is paying crores to get a posting, you think you will get justice.
Aavaz Singh, such a pleasure to chat with you. We've had a lot of conversations on television where you were in the box and defending women in many cases, a lot of women's issues. And I know there are a lot of people who follow me know you as that activist lawyer who's always fighting, but they don't know you personally. And I've honestly have not had the chance. We've known each other for a very long time, but I've not had the chance to really sit down and talk to you about who you are. And this is that conversation. And we're going to learn who you are by asking you about failure. Because I think, like we discussed, we learn so much from our failure, and it really informs our entire life. We make so many decisions based on what we have learned from our failure. And so that's what this conversation is about. So thank you for speaking with me. You've done a lot of tough things in your life. What is the hardest thing you've ever done?
That's a tough question because, yes, it's lovely to be on your show, Faye. You've done so well. I feel so proud that you are such a strong voice, even against all the adversity you stood up. So even when I was coming and I was thinking that, wow, I must tell you this. And yes, if you say what's the toughest time I've had or the toughest
thing you've done, the toughest project, the toughest case, the toughest decision you've made.
If I'll come to that, I had quit the civil services in 2012.
Yes.
And the first case I did was Salman Khan. And can you imagine, fresh as a lawyer, wearing my gown, and I had to go to Bandra court, not the gown, it was the jacket, because lower courts you just wear a black jacket. And I went and the hit and run case.
Yes.
So that time only Nooria Haveli wala matter had happened, that girl who was driving on Marine Drive. Immediately she was arrested and punishment was meted out to her. And I said, wow, this girl, drunken driving, young girl, like whatever, is judgment is given, she's sent behind bars. And here you have Salman Khan, who's been there, done this drunken driving, hit and run, 15 years, nothing has happened. So I filed an intervention application and I said, this case needs to be heard because one person died, there were people who were injured. And so when I went to Bandra court, I am entering the court, first time, it was maybe the second time, and Salman Khan's battery of lawyers were there, all the A-listers. And outside I see Baba Siddiqui with all his placards, people having, placards, ki, we are with Salman Khan, this, that. So I think that I realized, my God, what have I done? I was an officer sitting in a room and I was calling the shots. And here suddenly there's a battery of lawyers saying this is contempt. How is she talking about this case? And you have people outside. So I think that was the day I realized that for a lawyer, it's victory or failure every day. So failure is something there, because when you fight for justice, one side has to get an adverse order. And that was the day I overcame my fear, that I have to speak in an open court, I have to fight for justice. And that was a tough day for me.
But tell me why you did it, because it's not like someone came to you saying, please take this case. You were not connected to that case at that time. You chose that you will take this up. Tell me why you chose to take it.
One was Nuria Haveli wala, because I read about it and I said, here, law has to be fair to all. So I am an avid news reader, so I read newspaper, and I said this. And Salman Khan, someone had told me that the Bombay police was pro him. Even his blood sample, they had kept it in the police station for 2 days. So they had tried to help him. And it was in my mind that if the celebrities think that with money, power and contacts they can get away, no. I have left the government service. I was a class 1 civil servant. You must be seeing even today 10 lakh students appear every year for this exam, and I was leaving this coveted job. So I said, I have to be the voice of the voiceless, and I'm going to stand for the people who can't afford a lawyer, people who, because there were at a time some lawyers, some Bollywood said, oh, why were they sleeping on the pavement? So, those were the things. And Nuria Haveli wala was the trigger. Okay. As you said, I care for the girls and the women. I said, here is young girl who has no godfather. So she's put behind bars immediately. And Salman Khan's hit and run and the Bombay police role, I wanted to bring that both out, that in spite of the laws being strong, in spite of there being everything, if you can bribe and you can get a battery of lawyers. Of course, lawyers you are entitled to
get, yes.
But see, when Salman got scot-free from Bombay High Court, Mumbai police came out with a circular saying the 18 points where they had botched up. And that is why he was acquitted. So I wanted, and also I think I wanted the message to go that drunken driving is a strict no-no. Today when it happens in Pune and people change the blood sample, so you can see that the rich, because Salman got scot-free, in the last stages they said that it was the driver who was driving. And here also, if you see in the Pune Porsche case, the grandfather tried to tell that driver that you take the onus on you that you were driving. So people have learned this wrong message, that you can do drunken driving, you can kill people, but if you have the money, you can bribe the police, you can get away.
So, would you say your experience on that case was a success or a failure?
That's the biggest failure. Because in the lower court, we managed to get 5 years punishment to meted out to Salman. The Sessions Court said no, one person has died, one was badly injured, and then he ran away, he did not take them to the hospital, all those blah, blah, blah. And so 5 years. But here it comes to the High Court. And High Court, even though it was the government leader who was arguing, because I was the intervener in the Sessions Court. But in the High Court, it was the government pleader because my intervention was not there. I feel somewhere I failed. I failed the system there, because had I been the person to argue, or if I had a role, I would have seen to it that Salman did not go scot-free after killing someone. So I would call that a big failure. It may not be, people will say, no, it's not your failure because you were not the counsel, you were not arguing. But the very fact that I was not there, it does hurt me. That the message is gone. If you are rich and famous, you can go scot-free.
Did you at that point receive criticism that you're just doing this for the publicity? Because he's a famous man and, people will write about you as well.
See, that way I have done AIB roast, in which I got FIRs against not one, 13 film stars, be it Karan Johar, be it Deepika Padukone, be it Ranbir. Kapoor, no, not Ranbir Kapoor, Ranbir Singh. See, I've forgotten the names also. So it is not celebrity hunting. It is facts of a case. If a law is violated, because in AIB roast, people say freedom of speech.
I know. In fact, the AIB roast, case that you took up, where you were fighting against the producers of that show, I think that was one of the few points where I disagreed with you. On the record, I still disagree with you on that.
I know, because my daughter was in National Law School, Bangalore, and she said, "Mom, I shrunk in the campus because, there was so much trolling sort of a thing. People are saying, how can your mom do this?" And all the intellectual debates were happening. But I told her, and which I would like to tell you also, Faye, that I'm a lawyer. And I'm an officer of the court, and it's my duty to uphold the law of the land. So here also, obscenity, we all know, now you have a new laws, but as per the IPC, 294 of the IPC, there does talk of obscene words which annoy you, and we know what vulgarity was there, the words were there. Forget that. It took place at NSCI. And NSCI, the license was given. Was that it will be used for sports, public functions. It was not to be used as a platform for commercial, and that too this type of functions. So the judge also heard me out before ordering that FIR. So it was not on one point that their words were obscene. The venue was wrong. The NSCI, in fact, FIR was registered not only against the president but also the secretary of the NSCI, the National Sports Club of India, that how they gave it like that. Change of land use is not allowed. And also, the punishment was up to 5 years because they were violating the Environment Protection Act, because that was under the CRZ. So I will go, I'm a lawyer, and I will upholding the law of the land.
But we are not in the court right now. And these are all
but that's my answer, that I am doing celebrity hunting. No, I am just upholding the law.
No, it's okay, fine. But, on the technicality of that law, and we're arguing technicalities, so because it's on the beach, then it's CRZ, and there's an environment law, and there's a, land use law. But fundamentally on freedom of speech, that law is wrong, isn't it? That obscenity law is wrong. Because if you make sure that there are no children coming in, and, that you're putting out the right age limits to who's going to watch it, technically, as a freedom of speech of myself, that law is wrong, isn't it? And there are a lot of laws that are wrong, that tend to be changed.
See, but again, speaking, freedom of speech, there are reasonable restrictions, like we all say, public order, morality and health. So, I don't know if you heard word by word, because I had to translate it from Hindi to English. And some of the words were so crass. I mean, it objectified women in such a vulgar way. In fact, I say, I'm glad that that roast did not come, and that after that, it didn't happen in India, because as it is with the patriarchal mindset, women are treated like dirt in this country. I have so many women coming to me. I handle part of family law also. They are beaten up, they are bullied. And then I think on the pavements, we would have had people using those words for women. At least I would have not tolerated it. Those words were actually vulgar.
Okay, so now I'm pushing the point a little bit, although this is not what this conversation is about. You think people are not using those words for women because it was not in the show? I mean, it's happening anyway, right?
No, listen, what does it say in a public domain? They uploaded those videos. Certain things, like even bar dancers, Supreme Court has allowed as a profession, but you're doing it in these shows, if you're doing it in your house, but law says in a public place it is not allowed. So the law, I just went by the word of law, and you may say people are saying, but there is nothing called negative equality.
I do want to ask you on a personal front, as a lawyer, as a woman, do you feel that you need to believe in the case that you're taking up? Or do you believe in the theory that I'm a lawyer, my job is to provide the best possible defense/representation for my client, irrespective of whether or not I believe they're telling the truth, they're innocent or they're guilty, whatever it is. This is my job, I'm just going to go do it. Where's your,
See, when I joined in 2012, late 2012, I'll say 2013, I was very clear, because I was pursuing Salman Khan hit and run case, and people thought I was a criminal lawyer, like I was doing more on the criminal side. So a lot of people from the underworld, also approached
Got in
me, you
touch,
know, to take up their bail matters, and I won't take names, but really the top ones. And one underworld who was out, his wife wanted to meet me, and I got a little scared also. I said, God, where have I come? But how do I say no? Because they may take it otherwise, and then, you know. So, but then I took a stand that very first day in 2013, and I said, I'm not going to take cases of terrorists and rapists. And I have stuck to it even till now. That I don't take cases in which I have to defend terrorists or rapists. You may say, no, how can you be judgmental? But that is what my conscience didn't allow me. And today also when...
So you don't take any rape accused at all?
No,
You
I
just,
have...
What if you believe in their innocence?
Innocence. Yeah, see, you know, number one, yeah, you always say you are not guilty, you know, like, you know, you are innocent till you are not proven guilty. But somehow I feel I don't take cases that way. Women also who come and say false rape cases, you know, I can make out that way also. So because I know rape has become a weapon which is being used by both the sides. In you know, like you say, I've been raped for 5 years. You know, like and because the law is such which says that physical relations under the false promise of marriage.
Yes.
And I feel if you're an adult, sex is something which a woman also enjoys. Both parties are doing a consensual relationship, a physical relationship. So when an adult woman jumps into the bed of any man, it's voluntary. How can you call it rape? Because you say ki I had promised a marriage and today marriage is not happening. I don't believe in this. Then you wait till you're married. You know, so this is both ways. It's a double-edged sword.
But this is, I mean, we're also arguing now technicalities of the CRZ and the fact that this is what the letter of the law says. But
Yeah.
You get a lot of cases where domestic abuse and rape is overstated.
Yeah. See, domestic violence, I get so many cases that I can say Girgaon court, Kila court, where all small trial courts I have gone to fight DV, because DV is a civil remedy, you know, it's not a criminal remedy. And domestic violence is a law where women can get residence, monetary alimony, you know, it's a very positive law. But yes, you have to prove, as per the law, again, you know, we are talking about law, that a woman has been actually subjected to domestic violence. So I have to read out all the gory details, whether she's been beaten, pushed, bullied, not given food when she's carrying, mother-in-law has not given her food, husband's beaten her. So yes, you know, because it very clearly says that if I have to get a woman her house, residence, maintenance, I have to first convince the judge, the magistrate, that she has faced domestic abuse. So yes, I get a lot. And women, the problem I see is that women don't have the money to hire a lawyer, which is very tragic, because most of them are housewives. They suffer in silence. And when I ask them, they say, you know, we have no money. And that is the time, even not the lower strata, even the higher strata. Then I tell them, when you are doing your kitties and you are going on your junkets and your foreign holidays, why don't you save money for a good lawyer? And that is why women lose out in the court, because they don't have the money to fight their cases, even though they have faced so much of physical abuse, emotional abuse, you know, I mean, nasty. You know, I'm handling a case right now where it was to be heard yesterday, but it was in the end, so it didn't come. So now it has gone too much. And it's the latest case which I'm handling, where the girl's father, the wife's father, committed suicide. Because he thought that, let me give my daughter security by giving her a house, giving her a property. And husband somehow managed to get all out of her, and then he's left her. So, you know, the father under depression jumped. And the woman, it's all her Sridhan, which has been taken away by the husband. She is living with the mother. And the family court says, oh, you don't require any maintenance. And I've gone in appeal. You don't require any alimony.
But Sridhan is not alimony.
But see, again, the men have the money. She, being foolish, has not been able to get hold of that kind of lawyers, in the sense you don't have the financial capacity. Like we saw in Salman, you had Rohtagi sitting, you had Harish Salve. I think Harish Salve was waiting in the car in High Court that the moment when he was convicted for 5 years, that it will be brought to High Court and then Harish Salve will just go and ask for bail. I think Salve or Rohtagi, one was there, and he was waiting in the High Court. So, but these women, they don't have that kind of money to get good lawyers. So, husbands have the money, you know. You'll be surprised that wife is paying the EMI, but in the flat, the first name is of the husband. And then I asked them, why do you do it? You're educated, you're working. They said, ma'am, one, it will sound that we are very greedy. And second, it is not heard of that the wife is insisting that my name should be first. Patriarchy. So even though if she's paying the EMI, the first name is of the husband. And when the split happens, more than half of the property is taken by the husband, because somewhere if the wife's parents have paid, they've paid in cash, there's not much check movement, and wife is paying, but the first name is of the husband, so the shares are in his name. So the society, they manage, the cozy club of men, that the society will also help the husband. Nobody wants to stand by women. So
your advice to women is to always keep some money aside?
Yes. You remember our dadis.
Even in the happy honeymoon period.
Yeah. In fact, I tell them, see, when your husband is in that happy honeymoon period, so instead of the kisses, take the money, take FDs. Because the moment a second woman comes in their lives, you are thrown out. I feel sorry that in their 50s, when women have done all their roles of their mother, wife, daughter-in-law, and they feel now the time has come to relax, their secretary enters as the second lady, or some girlfriend comes, because it's now very easy to get women thanks to the social media, and everybody wants a rich guy to hang around because of this display economy, where you need a bag, you need a car, all those things. So wives in their 50s, when they should be relaxing and enjoying the laurels, they are at the pitiest phase of their life, because they have no money. Husband is now womanizing with someone else. Children have grown up and children say, no, now we don't need you. So I tell women, your money is going to be your best friend. Take it in writing from me today. Money is your best friend, because it will stand by you when your children who are adults have gone away. In fact, in this case, the children are both with the father, and the mother says, when I go to the house, it's my daughter who calls the cops, because husband has managed to give her that kind of money that she enjoys that life, and so nobody wants the mother. So my advice is, listen, you will be failing yourself as a woman. Forget, you want to be the best wife, you want to be the best daughter-in-law, you want to be the best mother, but you are not the best individual woman that you should be. You should be best to yourself. So again, coming to what you are saying, failure, I say women are failing themselves, and they have nobody to make accountable. You are only responsible for your failure to be leading a good life, to enjoy the laurels of your success. Finance is the most important thing, most important thing.
And also it's amazing how a lot of families don't understand the legal concept of Stridhan.
Yes.
Which is everything that's given to you at your wedding is yours and nobody can touch it. Correct?
Exactly, and in some of the cases I've seen, the husband side are ready to give whatever jewelry the girl has got from her mother's side. But Stridhan is what even the husband side has given you, what gifts have come to you at the time of marriage. But that part nobody wants to give. Nobody wants to give because they want to keep their jewelry. Maybe for the second wife or whatever, men feel, no, this jewelry will not go. In fact, I'll tell you, I shouldn't be sharing this, but I was handling a matter, and the wife had put out the jewelry that what she had worn, that she said, this is what my in-laws had given me for the wedding.
Wedding photographs.
And this should be given to me. So the mother-in-law immediately says in the court that that was all artificial jewelry, and she got that identical made to say that, to put it in front of the society status I gave her. So people go to that extent, that level, not to give the wife her due. So Stridhan, of course, husband's jewelry, not many people give. So you get what is only yours, what your parents gave. And women are foolish that whatever their parents give, that also they transfer to their husbands. You know.
You've taken up many cases, and we'll come back to the cases in a bit. But I also want to understand from you the battles that you fought, because you, like you said, you started off as IAS, and before that you were in JNU, and you quit the IAS
Yeah.
to become a lawyer. Tell us what happened.
You know, I was born, in fact, the journey when I think of it, really, I wonder how I did it. Because being born in UP, even today, these states are called very traditional, backward, patriarchal. So, of course, parents were very progressive, and every day I thank my parents that they gave me the best education. I mean, my mother made me change 3 schools in Lucknow, till the time I went to Loreto Convent, Lucknow. I was changing kindergarten here, middle here, but when I reached there, if I go by that, my mother was an MA in history from Allahabad University in the year 1961. When there was child marriage, girls were not going to school. It was my mother who did a master's. But being born in a traditional Rajput family, married in a Rajput family, she never was allowed to do a job, work, because a woman working was always seen that big families, good families, girls don't go out. They are supposed to only be in the house. So she had that thing in her that I will fulfill my dreams through my daughters. And so she put us to the best schools. I went to JNU, and she said, you have to take the civil services. And I think it was a tribute to my mom and my father that I and my sister both cleared the civil services. Of course, I quit 10 years down the line, but my sister is still Principal Commissioner Income Tax, and she continues to serve. And, but as I was studying, I was very bright. I mean, I'm not praising myself, but I topped my college. I got the UGC scholarship, which now people talk of. Even when I was in JNU, I had the thing that I must get a scholarship. But again, the societal pressures that, I was getting a scholarship to go abroad. So my mom felt that if I go abroad and all, nobody will marry me in these communities, because that stigma was there. Bahar ghumi hai, tej hogi. How it is that, ki so she said, no, you have to get married. So I was barely 21. Here I had filled my UPSC forms. My prelims was in June. January, I'm sitting, there's that famous Ganga Dhaba of JNU, sitting there and sipping tea. And I see my parents coming, and they are very excited. They have a small diamond ring in their hand. They says, we've come to take you. The boys' family are coming for engagement. Can you beat it? I had not seen my husband. I had not seen YP Singh when I went for the engagement. And my younger sister was also there. She was in the 12th standard. And she also came along. Yeah, I think she was in the 12th. She was there only. She's telling me, say no, say no. Because she said, you fill the form, you have to take the UPSC. Listen, you are too brilliant to get married at this stage. Say no. I said, no, but mom has got that ring and these people have come. How do I say no? That is the journey. So I got married. They came, I got engaged, I went for the engagement. My father-in-law said, no, February is a month which is very good, and also we want the marriage in February. So parents, I would say it should have been my parents should have said that, no, prelims is in June, mains is in November, so we'll do the wedding in December. I mean, they could have taken a stand. But I think marriage was, in our generation, marriage came first, career came second. So this is the beautiful thing which has happened now. Like we as parents feel, even for our daughters, career first, marriage second. But in our times, it was marriage first, career second. So Jan, I got engaged. February, I got married. June were the prelims. Somehow, like people said, no, you will not clear the prelims, you will not clear the prelims. I lost confidence in myself. And I didn't take the prelims that year. And then my father said, how can anyone judge you or decide that you will not clear the prelims? I know my daughter. That was the confidence my father had in me. But I almost had a nervous breakdown, and that was 87 June. I didn't take the prelims. And then I waited for a year, and then my father said, he in fact got angry. He said, you should have confided in me that you became nervous. I said, no. Everybody in my in-laws' side said, no, you'll not clear the prelims. And like how it is. Nobody wants you to take the civil services. So But hats off to my father and my mother. She said, look, I educated you. I sent you to Delhi. I sent you to JNU, and now you are saying this. So 88 again I filled the form and I cleared the prelims. And you will not believe I cleared the prelims every time. So this is what is, like the fear of failure. That I will not clear the prelims, so I didn't take the exam in 87. 88 I took the prelims, I cleared the prelims, I cleared the mains in November. I reached the interview in my very first attempt. But again I'll tell you how life of a woman, the trajectory is, how you navigate. Here I'm taking cleared the prelims, I wanted to go back to JNU to take my exam. And my in-laws said, no, you have to come to Lucknow. How will we tell this society, समाज क्या बोलेगा कि बहू दिल्ली में बैठ के एग्जाम दे रही है when mains can be taken in Lucknow. So I went to Lucknow. I gave my center for my written exam Lucknow, and I stayed in my in-laws' house and I gave the exam. Here people are coming to Rajendra Nagar for coaching and all that. So forget the coaching. I stayed in my in-laws' house and I went to take the exams, and yet I cleared the mains.
Were you allowed to study in your in-laws' house?
Yeah, that of course, because it was study. I could sit in my room and
आप
study.
चाय बना रहे थे.
But yes, if the guests came, I did have to come out and meet them. Luckily, I didn't have to make chai because I would have not known also how to make chai at that stage, because I was a police officer's daughter. There were, somehow we never entered the kitchen because my dad was very clear, my mom, that मेरी लड़कियाँ अफसर बनेंगी. ये सब काम नहीं करना है types, So, but I was, reached the interview. The result came, my name was nowhere. So what failure? I have seen that I cleared the prelims, mains, reaching the interview. But when I went for the interview, I was 5 months pregnant. So the family pressures were such that a child is more important than your exam. So here I'm taking the exam and then I'm trying for a child. And in between, like for a woman, it is this, that you have to navigate everything. And my motto in life is treat every adversity as an opportunity. And that is why I may not have cleared that year. But I said, doesn't matter. Next year I'll come again.
Tell me what that was like, because you had pushed against so many forces. There were your in-laws, you were pregnant at that point, you had your husband who would have obviously expected something from his wife, to say, I didn't make it, but I'm going to start all over again and do this all over again. What was that like?
It's difficult because see, how it happens, this exam is like now it's 10 lakh people appearing. At that time, there would be around 6 lakh people appearing. So in that 6 lakhs, when you take the prelims, just 10,000 people clear. From the 10,000, the written exam when you take, it's 10,000 from 6 lakhs to 10,000. For the interview, they call only 1,200 people. So from the 6 lakhs, I came to 1,200. Then again, I had to go back to 6 lakhs. Now it is 10 lakhs. So yes, the prelims is the toughest. And that is why, I don't want to take names, that there are people who for prelims take the quota and then take the mains, normal, because they want to say, no, we tried our things, because somewhere when you clear the civil services with a quota, the thing is there, you've taken the reservation, your merit is not checked totally, wow, it is. So prelims is the toughest, but I'm proud to say I cleared the prelims all the 4 times. But yes, mains I flunked twice because I was working. Meanwhile, from my first attempt, I got a job in the customs. I became a Group B officer. That's from the civil services only. UPSC has a waiting list. So later I got, from the first attempt when I didn't get through, I think God was kind and my mother's prayers were there. So I got a job from that exam, from the reserved. They have a waiting list. So I became a custom appraiser. And I joined Bombay Customs in 1991. But that was a Group B. C and Group A, Class 1, Class 2, everybody knows what a vast difference is. So meanwhile my brother and my younger sister had both become Class 1 officers. So my dad was saying, here is my brightest child, and how can she be a Class 2 officer?
Because you got her married.
Yes. Yes. He died 10 years back. He was very unwell. And that's what he told me. He said, my biggest mistake in my life was that I didn't let you appear. That I got you married. And then I made you appear the exam, because that you won't be able to get through or you will not take it so seriously. So, yes, he did feel that. But I said it doesn't matter. Again, one thing you don't get, if one door is closed, 10 doors open for you. And even as a lawyer, because people said we can't imagine that you will leave such a coveted job. You know, I would have been, my batchmates are now, some of them are additional secretaries, Government of India. And then from customs, I left customs and I came to the postal services. My batchmates are now chief postmaster generals, having around 20,000 employees under them. But I said, no, I want to use my freedom of speech and expression. You know, as a government servant, you are tight-lipped. You can't speak against the government. You can't speak what is right, what is wrong. And the activist in me, the person who lived for justice, kept telling me, move out, come out, and be the voice of the silenced. Now people say, do you not regret? Because I remember at that stage, I had got a offer for RAW. People say the cabinet secretariat. Today, if I had joined that, I would have been director RAW.
Undoubtedly.
I know, I mean, director CBI, director RAW, director IB are the premium positions. But I remember my father said, we have to go. My son was already 1.5 years old. And my husband says, my God, you want to do such a job? Where you have to work as a detective, go abroad, and you know, like you have Kulbhushan Jadhav, we don't know what's happening to him. I can understand my husband's concern at that time. But see, we as women, we want everyone to be happy. I mean, the ambition takes the backstage because you feel, oh, if the husband is not comfortable, why should I go for such an ambitious job? Because end of the day, we are taught to be self-sacrificing. So that's the journey. You
What
know.
happened when you got that call?
I didn't go because I got scared. My husband says, oh my God, you're going to become a detective. You're going abroad to snoop for the country. I will leave you. You know, he may have said it as a joke, but that petite, delicate Rajput girl that I was, I took it seriously that he's getting angry. And I didn't go for that interview. And had it happened today, I would have said, listen, I'm leaving you today. You pack your bags and go. You know, I mean, this is the journey of a woman that brick by brick, Abha Singh has come what she is today. That the other day I was at a wedding and Salman Khan's security guard was there, you know, Shera. And he says, Madam, aapko dekh ke to hum court mein dar jate the. A person who the world looks up to, that he provides security to Salman, saying that you used to, looking at you, we panicked.
But do you feel that if it was mixed messages there? Because on one hand, they were saying that you should become an officer, you're so brilliant. And on the other hand, there was marriage and babies and in-laws and all of these things. Don't go overseas, don't do this, don't do that.
My husband was an IPS, and so no, you know, in those days, you know, you were just told you have to, the marriage, you know, like marriage market, when there was dowry, this, that. But here was YP Singh with his values and principles said, I don't want dowry. My mother went to see him, asked him, tum kaun si gaadi loge types, you know. He says, main sasural ki gaadi mein nahi baithunga. So see, what I was getting, what I gave up my career or I compromised my career was a husband with integrity, who did not want dowry, who had no problem in my working. Of course, that's different. The draw he didn't want, because when I remember I got the job in the customs and I had to come to Bombay to join, and my son was just 10 months old. So I left him with my mother because I didn't know where I will stay in Bombay, and at that time it was Bombay. But he came with me. I said, I'm not going. Where will I stay? What will I do? And that time my husband was Superintendent of Police, Wardha. See, here is an SP's wife with a paraphernalia of a bungalow, cars, this, that. But my mom and all said, no, you have to go and join. I said, no, I am not joining. I am resigning. So my mom really became upset. She said, today is the day I'm going to cry if my daughter is going to leave the job. And as a tribute to my mother, I said, fine, I'm going. I left my son, 10-month-old baby, with my mother, took a train from Lucknow, I still remember, Pushpak. And my husband took chutti. He took leave, came with me, made me join my Bombay custom appraiser job. We stayed in Azad Maidan guest house, that Azad Maidan police station guest house. We stayed there for a month. I completed the formalities and then I went back. So, you know, my husband, he wrote to the DG that my wife has got a job in Mumbai. So I may be given a transfer to Mumbai because my one condition was I'm not going to stay alone in Mumbai. I'm not going to leave my kid in Lucknow. I want the child with me, come what may. So then the only solution was, he said, I need to move. And you will be shocked, Faye. The Director General of Police got angry that here is a cop who is the district superintendent of police of a district, and he is sacrificing that for his wife. Which husband will do it? And then they didn't give him Mumbai police. So he opted for a post in food and drugs. This is 91. A district superintendent of police. Here people give money to become a DCP, money to become an SP of a district. And here is my husband who sacrificed all that. And this was a shunted position where nobody had gone for 2 years. Because I wanted to come and start my work, he became vigilance officer with FDA, Food and Drugs Administration. He didn't have a car, he didn't have a phone, nothing. Luckily, I was given a house on Pedder Road because there was a ladies' pool and Pedder Road, Darbhanga house. So he left everything, stayed in my house. So that is called a metro man, a man with confidence. That everybody said, "अरे बीवी के लिए district छोड़ दिया, पुलिस छोड़ दिया, train से office जाता है." He bought a cub scooter to go to Grant Road and take the train. So I would say marriage is something where both have to compromise or both have to navigate to make a marriage work.
And the two of you at one point quit the services and decided to become lawyers together.
You know, that's also very magical. You know, he was in the CBI. And if people who are watching your show or will watch later, they should Google his stay in CBI. You know, he registered a P against the great Dhirubhai Ambani. You know, preliminary inquiry that he said no Panna Mukta. He did that Panna Mukta, US 64, all the big cases he was investigating. And the government felt that if this guy stays for long in the CBI, you know, the corporates are going to have a tough time. And corporates are ultimately, even then and now, they have been running the system. And you will not believe it. He was sitting in Tanna House. They relieved him overnight, put a lock in his office, did not even let him take his papers. So he was repatriated from the CBI. And that would be which year? That would be in the 90s. And I came from the services background. My father was a senior officer. So YP said, I will go to court. I will fight my repatriation. It is wrong because I was doing brilliant work, and just because they had problems and I was doing these cases. And in fact, there was a parliament question where they said that it was raised and that if YP Singh's report had been taken into cognizance, if they had worked on that, then the US 64 would not have happened, fraud, and government would have not lost 1,000 crores. So, you know, that was the kind of stake because that kind of money was invested into Reliance and it was a throwaway for the government, and YP had done that case. So, they repatriated him from CBI and he says, I'm going to fight my own case. And none of us had a law degree. He's master's in economics and I am a master's in political science. So, lawyers we couldn't afford because the moment they repatriated him, his salary was stopped. Salary was stopped. His, that time there were no mobiles, we were staying in Hyderabad estate, his landline was disconnected because suddenly people found there is this young IPS officer who's doing such brilliant work and they knew his work. The media came all out to support him. So they said, how do we cut out his contact? So they disconnected the phone line. They withdrew his vehicle. They said, how will he go? Of course, they didn't know that he had bought a scooter when he had come to make his wife join the customs. So he had his two-wheeler. And at that time, there were no two-wheelers. I think ours was the only two-wheeler in Mumbai. And I'm talking of 92, 93. So, there were no emails and also whatever petitions. He says, I will read the law myself and I will fight my own case because we couldn't afford a lawyer. His salary was stopped. My salary, that time there was no fifth pay commission. I was getting, I think, my first salary was 2,700, but by the time he was repatriated, I was getting 5,000 rupees. So in 5,000 rupees, taking care of 2 children, with no vehicle, no support, nothing, was not easy. So he said, I will fight my own case. And he started reading the law. So he would go to the Central Administrative Tribunal to fight his case, and I would take half day CL and I would carry his books and I would hear him argue. So CAT, somehow he lost the case. I will not go into it that why he lost the case, because then maybe I draw contempt and we both have issues. So then he said, I will go to High Court. But I told my husband, and my father also came running. He said, in the government, if you fight the government, you become tainted. In the sense, nobody will ever give you a good posting. You will never be, the officer. But he said, no, I am fighting against injustice. I am standing for truth and I'm going to fight it. He went to High Court. So the High Court, initially the best part was his case was so genuine because he had done these cases and CBI had repatriated him before his tenure. And what the CBI did, see, they realized that they had repatriated him, but being in Mumbai, his voice was being heard. So they requested the Maharashtra government to transfer him out of Bombay. So one transfer was from CBI back to state, and within 10 months they insisted, Gopinath Munde was the deputy CM at that time, they pressurized the state government to transfer him to Nagpur. So 2 transfers. So he said, and I also went to the press and I said, government says husband and wife should be posted together as far as possible. I have joined the customs. I have 2 small children. Why should by that time I had joined the postal services, I had left customs. I said, you have vacancies in Mumbai. IPS officers by the dozen are here. Why is he not in Mumbai? Why are you transferring to Nagpur? I have 2 children to take care of. I have just come to Mumbai. So those guidelines are also there because the laws, the conduct rules also say, the government GR says, as far as possible, husband and wife should be posted together if they are both in the government services. So that was one thing. Second was, because his tenure was not over. And that time the Director General of Police was Mr. Amarjit Singh Samra. But he's no more. But Mr. Samra gave an affidavit to the court saying that YP Singh was reporting to me and my approval was not taken. I had not given any proposal for his transfer. So here is your boss who stands by you, unlike the CBI, which succumbed to the pressure of the politicians. So High Court, my husband would get a stay. When he went and he said, this, the judges would say, yes, very genuine case. And they would say, stay granted. But that same judge who gave a stay and looked very proactive and he was sympathizing, in the next hearing, I would notice, I was a bystander, I was only carrying books. And I would see his expressions change. And I would tell YP, last time he looked very sympathetic, but this time he is looking very anti you. He is making you read the case laws which don't go in your favor. And in fact, for one High Court judge, I said, ye tumse nazre nahi mila raha hai, you will lose the case. So, as a bystander, I saw how things go in a court. So, High Court also, YP lost. CAT he lost, High Court he lost. But again I said, failure is a learning curve. You learn from failure, you don't become disheartened from failure. You say, khel abhi baki hai. He went to the Supreme Court. So here he goes to Supreme Court, and who was engaged against him in Supreme Court? Kapil Sibal. Maharashtra government engaged Kapil Sibal against YP for his transfer from Bombay to Nagpur. They transferred him to Nagpur. They engaged Kapil Sibal. They engaged 2 retired judges. So there was a battery of lawyers, and here was my husband alone with his books because I could not go to Supreme Court. I had 2 tiny children to take care of. 8 times he went, and he went by second class. I used to book the tickets. So when the hearing happened, there was Justice Sujata Manohar. And I told YP, there is a lady judge, you will get justice. And why? Because ladies, I feel, they are less corrupt. I don't know of today's, but that time was my impression and my experience, because we women, we want to come, do our work, go home, take care of our children, do our household work. We don't have the time to wine and dine. No, to wine and dine, where we can be approached by all these power brokers, money brokers. So we are not easily accessible. and Justice Sujata Manohar, she saw the matter. And my husband said, I am fighting a battle for truth. I am fighting a battle for justice. I have not even taken medical leave to fight my case. I am on without salary. 6 months I have been without salary. And Justice Sujata Manohar said, we will pass strictures against the Maharashtra government if you don't pay his salary. And you will not believe, we had a deputy secretary Maharashtra government coming home to give his check. So after that, when he won from Supreme Court. He won from Supreme Court because Supreme Court, the government could not manage. And when YP came back, I had got him a form. I said, you're going to do law. And he registered. After that, I registered. And we both did law from Bombay University. This is our journey.
With 2 small children, you quit both jobs. 2 UPSC jobs, 2
Yes.
UPSC officers.
Yes. Yes. And I got very good marks in law also.
What was your parents' reaction?
I had lost my father by then when I left the job. So had he been there, I always say, Dad, you would have not allowed me to leave the UPSC, because for them UPSC was a very big thing.
Yeah.
So Dad was no longer there, and he was very ill. So I used to always tell him, Ki, if you don't live, I'm going to leave this job. I used to always threaten him, but he couldn't survive. He had a serious disease. So I lost him in 2008. But by the time Lead India had happened, and I was going to London School of Economics. So here, he was very excited that my daughter is going to LSE to study. And I had done law. Law I joined in 2001. YP won. So he completed his law, and 1 year after him, I joined law. And it's not easy, 8 papers every year. So I had my office, I had my evening classes, and I had joined French also. So French was morning 7 to 10, then go to office, then do this evening classes. And then one day I realized, why am I doing this? But then I said, no, law I must do, because if I want to stand up to injustice, because I had seen how things were, I need to know law. And so my study of law was not to make money. It was to stop wrong things from happening. So that's what it was. So law is something which, so today also, that's why I said I will not do cases of terrorists. I'm not going to defend rapists, because money is not what. See, money does not influence me. Money is just a medium for certain lifestyle. Forget lifestyle, to survive. When I could survive in one salary, then what is this? I mean, I don't need the lawyer fees to pull me through. But yes, so many cases, when I was fighting the case for the widows of manual scavengers, even now I'm doing it. I have set up this website called Ask, Assistance for Safai Karamcharis. So one day when I was reading in Times of India that this woman has lost her husband cleaning septic tank in a posh society in Chembur. I read the paper and I said, my God, how would she be running the house? When your husband goes down to clean a septic tank for 1,000 rupees, what kind of poverty is that? I and my daughter, we walked up to these slums and we met that widow. And Bani is her name. And I asked Bani. Bani had a 3-week-old son. And I asked her, I said, why did he do it? She says, Madam, वो तो painting का काम करता था. But डॉटर के बाद बेटा हुआ था. He says, मैं 40 days के फंक्शन में सबको नॉनवेज खिलाऊंगा. So for that 1 kg, 2 kg of non-veg to buy, he went down to clean the drain and he died. So, that is why I say my law knowledge is for people like these. I told Bani, I said, Bani, I will take you to High Court. I will get you justice. Vimla Chorotia, she had 3 children. Her daughter told me, Papa कहता था खूब पढ़ो, बड़े घर में जाएंगे. They lived in slums. Neeta Kashikar, another person in Kurla slums. I collected these 3 widows. You know, I had filed a PIL in Bombay High Court. I had asked an RTI in BMC saying, how many deaths of manual scavengers take place in Mumbai? You know what reply I got from BMC? Nil. They said no death takes place. So when I read the story of these 3 widows, I said, I want you to come with me to the High Court. And these widows, I said, take your time. They all came. And when my PIL came for hearing, and I said, Lordship, here is an RTI reply from BMC which says no deaths have taken place. I said, these widows, are they ghosts? Or we have written them off already? They don't exist. And when these 3 widows got up, you will not believe that the collector suburban who had not given them compensation, second hearing when we step out of Bombay High Court, the Tehsildar was standing with checks of 1 lakh each for the widows, 1,25,000 each as an interim compensation. And in the third hearing, all the 3 widows had got 10 lakhs each. This is the power of law. If you want to stand for justice, if it is not money that lures you. And I think I would say that adversity, that YP going through that struggle, and Justice Sujata Manohar in Supreme Court saying that yes, truth triumphs, made me do law. And today when I stand up for these downtrodden, marginalized, I think this is the real Abha which had to come. At least we have set up a system where pan-India, I get calls from Bihar, I get calls from Kerala, where these widows, because they know one Vimla Charotia has got compensation like this. You know, Mumbai being such a commercial city, Maharashtra being such a progressive state, ours is the first case where any widow of a manual scavenger has got compensation. 30 years there was not a single widow who was given.
So these regular updates that we hear on the national level also, that there are no deaths.
You know what they say? What the BMC's reply was? We have outsourced it. That means the cleaning is being done by them. But we are not responsible because we have given it to contractors.
So what the contractors are doing, nobody knows.
So what I said was, we cannot outsource death. You cannot outsource death. You have a budget of 57,000 crores, now it must be 60,000 crores. It is your job. And Supreme Court in the Safai Karamchari case has clearly said, they have banned this manual scavenging. And in spite of banning, and they have made the district collectors responsible. You know, it is the collector's responsibility to see that it is stopped. And which collector has been made accountable? IS officers, they have tremendous following on Insta, they are doing this, they are doing that. We are only glamorizing them. They are not there for glamour. Power is given for a purpose. You are supposed to do a job. But a government servant, the amount of bribe they get. I mean, I can tell you IS officers who will have thousands of crores. Thousands of crores they earn. Police officers who have hundreds of crores, thousands of crores. And in that, the service in which I joined, I mean, I cannot tell you, you know.
Customs.
There would be drawers would be open and money would be kept like that openly. People would carry bundles of cash in newspaper every day in the evening. And I was so worried. I said, my God, I come from a very honest background. My mentality is honesty. I can't survive in this. I left customs because of that. But that is the kind of money which is there. You think people are coming for the government salary? No. They are coming for the glamour, the perks, the money. ये जो ऊपर की कमाई है ना, that is what is luring these people. 8 attempts, 10 attempts, 20 attempts. Very few. I can say my experience is that you will find only 10% honest, if there are. I'm being very ambitious and saying 10% honest government servants you will find in the IAS, IPS, income tax, customs, 10%. 90% from day one have come to make money. But yes, I feel my studying law, at least one thing that is what I go by, that I may not be able to make the change, but I can make a difference. Step by step. You know, like change will not come suddenly, that everything will stop. But I can make a difference, at least those 10 widows, 20 widows, if I getting them compensation. I am making some difference. So, if all of us do our duty, All of us decide. Fail like you. If there are not one fail, there are 20 fails. At least the voice will be stronger. No? But I'm sure people would have deserted you, like when you left the television. Like my husband did not have a single IPS officer standing by his side when he fought the mighty. He wrote that book. That book openly said that the Deputy CM is charging 35 lakhs for a posting of a DCP. He had the courage to write that. And this is in the 90s, that was the rate. So what now? They must be, if an officer is paying crores to get a posting, you think you will get justice. Women can't. Even today, there was this woman who's gone to the police station to get an FIR. She says, ma'am, the IO is asking me 200 questions. Tomorrow I'm going to represent 5 teachers who have been suspended from school because their only thing was they went to the police station to say that the principal has sexually harassed us. And the principal, coming from one of the premium institutions, rich school, lot of money, they said, their lawyers immediately reached and said that, no, these teachers didn't want to work properly. They didn't want to come on time, so they have put this case. The police did not register the FIR. My question is, if 5 women in their 40s and 50s are coming and saying that we have been sexually harassed, you register an FIR, investigate, close the case. But how can you say that they are making false cases? That to women in their 40s and 50s who don't have a single complaint against them, who have never come to the police station to file a case. So, what is important, I feel that the system is failing us. We are not failing the system. System is failing us. And why? Because the politicians and the bureaucrats who are supposed to keep the institutions strong have forgotten their duty.
When you look back at your journey, and you talked about having 2 tiny children in the middle of that entire battle that you and your husband fought together, is there some portion of that you would have done differently, or some portion of that still weighs on you?
Yes, it does. Like my daughter says, Mom, where were you when I was growing up? Because I virtually became a single parent because half the time my husband's salary was stopped because he was fighting either the Supreme Court, High Court, here, there. So I had to work. And government job, it was 9:30 means 9:30. I had to reach at 9:28 and 6 means 6. You're a class 1 officer, you can't leave 10 to 6. So it has to be 6:1. So 9:30 to 6 is a long time. Both my children have been brought up by babysitters. There was a creche at Pedder Road I went for my son. Both my son and daughter, they went to that creche. And so I feel now that they are grown up and they have gone their ways. Of course, my daughter, people say, no, you brought up very brilliant children. Both were top 100 in CLAT. One was from Nalsar, daughter is from Bangalore. But see, that is different. Your academic success or your career success, she's now in the IPS herself. But I was not there when they were growing up because either I was carrying my husband's books or I was stressed because I didn't know what is going to happen. Because see, as I said, mine was an arranged marriage. I had not even seen him. My parents said, Ladka IPS hai. So for us, the job was important because he was just an MA in economics. And I always felt, what if he leaves the job and he doesn't do anything? It would have been, he would go into depression or anything. Like for a wife, there are so many things to think of. So those stresses were there. Then I had to work and pay my children's fees.
Yeah.
So I had to actually, and women, I feel they have to work harder to prove their success.
My favorite part was you saying that working mothers don't have time to be corrupt. But that was of 90s and 2000s. Now they do.
Now they do because I think they will just WhatsApp, send the money here. You don't need to go and meet. And now with the money laundering and Hawala coming, I think, I am, I will say, but still I will say one thing. They are less corrupt.
Yeah.
They're less corrupt, and still 40% would be honest even now. If I say for men it will be 90% corrupt, women I would say still only 45 to 50. I mean, still you would find women, because they don't have the time to wine and dine and they have their children to take care of, and I think they find their joys in their family, in their things that they do, you know. So all this glitter is not
You know,
there.
all of these choices that you've made, has there ever been a moment in your life where you turned around and said, you know, it would be nice to have a newspaper full of money? You know,
No, not even a single day. You know, वो बेईमान का पैसा जो है ना, बेईमानी का पैसा, करप्शन तो it can never, you know, I can't even dream कि मैं किसी से पैसे ले लूं ऐसे.
अच्छा.
You know, never. In fact, you know, मेरा दिल ऐसे धक धक करता था when I would see people, and people would come to me and say, "Madam, आप नहीं ले रही हैं, आपका पैसा वो CHA ने तो ले ही लिया है." Because they were importers. Importers would give it to the CHAs. I'd rather die than make compromises in life as far as honesty is concerned. Never. And that's what my children, I also, in fact, people tell me, आपने बेटे को थोड़ा street smart क्यों नहीं बनाया? You know, like वो law में भी जैसे होता है ना, lawyers में he'll say नहीं, he doesn't think. Daughter मेरी एकदम conviction, they call her an activist cop. Because she's always talking of virtues, things like that. So I think ये जो Singh family है, YP Singh, RB Singh, Isha Singh, Abha Singh, we respect money. We want to work hard to earn money, but not as a bribe, not as a gift कि मुझे आके कोई दे दे. Never. People से आपको अप्रोच नहीं करते. मैंने कहा करते हैं, but उनकी हिम्मत नहीं है मेरे दफ्तर में आ जाए.
Abha Singh, thank you so much for all of the causes that you've championed and for speaking with me today. Thank you.
Thank you.